Hello, 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 all my loves. How are you? How's everybody doing? I hope everybody has had a great day. It has been an interesting day over here in my world. Um, you know, the war in Israel is nasty right now, so that's not a lot of fun. But we're gonna talk. We need to have some talks and some rules and Loki explaining. And what better way to Loki explain than to have Boom here to help me? Uh,
What am I doing?
I'm going to Loki explain, and I figure if I've gone once I get off track or too technical, you usually tell me to shut up and try again. So I figure,
Gotcha.
like while I Loki explain, you'll be here to be like, nah, try again, kind of thing. So we're going to cover things because I've been in several people's chats and I keep seeing this on channels, and it is a pet peeve of mine. If you don't know the gun laws, for the love of God, please do not fucking Dunning-Kruger it. If I see one more person talking about somebody that has an emergency protective order against someone saying, oh yeah, well, even though that there's an emergency, like someone has a protective order against them, they can still own a gun. No, you cannot. Well, in Texas, no. All of the no's. Okay, you can't have one. And I keep seeing things, and I keep seeing the gun wrong, and it makes my eye twitch. And I have a small person to do that if I really feel that need. I shouldn't. Gun law should not do that to me. So we are going to explain. We are going to explain uh, things like gun laws and FFLs. Because, oh my God, if one more person says, well, I live in Texas and in here it doesn't matter if someone has a protective order against me, like totally, like we can own a gun. No, you can't. No. Just no. Creed, no, you may not own, possess, or be in the presence of somebody else that possesses a gun, weapon, uh, knife, depending on the definition. And yes, I can give you the definition of all the different weapons. Crossbow, trebuchet. I mean, like, if you'd like me to go into what all falls under those weapons rules, um, we can, but you can't. Yeah, Pat, when you had your CNR, what's your CNR? You have to tell me what a CNR is. If it's your version, because C and R doesn't. It can be a few things. Yes, note the bookie worm. You may not have ammunition. Actually, it doesn't even have to be ammunition. You can't have a brass casing. You can't even have a spent round.
That seems a little excessive.
Well, how did you come into possession of it if you're not allowed to be anywhere?
I don't know. Somebody could have brought it to me to have them tumbled.
You can't have them if
pocket and drop one.
well, you can't tumble it if you are when you had your CNR, you bought a bunch of weapons. Yeah, I mean, like, right, Pat, you can buy them when you have your firearms license. Yeah, no, Sandy, the reason I said trebuchet is because unfortunately, I have a nerd for a family member who built a motherfucking trebuchet on a U-Haul trailer they bought.
Why?
Pumpkin chunkin'. Because there was a Boy Scout pumpkin chunking contest.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. Usually, though, they build cannons for pumpkin chunking.
The Boy Scouts of America said no cannons. So
Oh, well,
my genius sibling went with a fucking trebuchet that he built on an old U-Haul trailer
well,
platform and towed with a truck. Which then led me to just like disown part of my family. Mhm. Like we're not gonna. Hey, Glenn, I am fine, Glenn. We are going to talk about guns, lots and lots of guns. But yes, the trebuchets. It was great. I'm like, can we not with the trebuchet? Like, why? Like, I understand you have multiple PhDs from Carnegie Mellon and you're smarter as fuck. Who the fuck brings a trebuchet on a U-Haul trailer to Boy Scouts? And why, for the love of God, did you spend that much time building one?
he said, but why not?
Pretty
Well,
much.
if you're in space law, I don't think there's many space laws yet, so probably it's my guess.
But yeah, giant fucking trebuchet. Why do we have like it? I remember clearly showing up to something to when he had his own. Why is there an 8 foot tall trebuchet in the backyard on a trailer?
That's a good question.
And he just looked at me and I went, you know what? I'm going home. I don't want to know. I don't. I don't. Just, I'm going home. I'm done. Like, I can't. I cannot with you. Like, I'm sorry. I just can't. But we're gonna, yeah. So we're gonna cover things because I swear to God, I no, drives me crazy. Guys, one little stupid piece of housekeeping. I am posting a YouTube channel in the chat. It is a streamer, video game streamer, uh, acquaintance, and he's got like less than 25 people. So go say hi and tell them you're terrorizing him on my behalf. Go terrorize.
Ah, yes. Been looking for that. All
Everybody
right.
can go terrorize Zexy and his 26 people.
It is now 26 because I clicked a button.
I'm just saying.
You gotta ask him
Actually,
ask
that's a
him for a tip of the fedora.
Oh yes, he will.
He's a
He will tip a fedora to you and pretend to be a neckbeard, and yeah,
he is a true gentleman gamer.
yeah,
okay.
whatever. Go, everyone, go amuse themselves and harass him.
I got the question.
What?
Just okay. We have people talking about older, much older firearms. You know.
Yep, I'll get to that. We'll
Okay.
discuss what classifies as what. We're getting there. So tonight, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover a bunch of federal gun law. Okay, because I'm real sick of having to explain this for the people in the back. Right? Cool. So, first and foremost, all gun legislation in the U.S. falls under the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ATF. The ATF has something they call a prohibited person. The prohibited persons are identified thanks to the Gun Control Act. The Gun Control Act, if you would really like to find it, if you don't think I know what I am talking about, what I'm gonna tell you is to go check out 18 USC 922 subsection G. Okay, so there's where it's codified for all my soft sits. Paul, I'll get there. So for all my soft sits, it's codified at 18 USC 922 subsection G. Thank you, Glenn. Croc's supposed to remind people to like, share, and subscribe and that stuff, but he's slacking. But that's where it's codified. My soft sits right there. Okay.
Actually, it's the first thing I did when I came into the
I'm
when
just
I
teasing you. So under the Gun Control Act, it makes it unlawful for certain categories of persons to ship, transport, receive, or possess firearms or ammunition. The ammunition does not even have to be live. Okay? What makes a prohibited person? If you have been convicted in any court of a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. If you are a fugitive from justice. If you are a, and this is what's killing me. And this is where I'm going to lose my shit in a minute, but if you are an unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance as defined in Section 102 of the Controlled Substances Act, if you've been adjudicated as a mentally defective person or committed to any mental institution, if you're an illegal alien, if you've been discharged from the armed forces under, here we go, guys, listen, dishonorable conditions. This doesn't mean you're uncharacterized. This does not mean that you got an honorable. This is if you've gotten the bad conduct, the big chicken dinner discharge. If you've renounced your citizenship, if you are subject, ready? If you are subject to a court order restraining you from harassing, stalking, or threatening a partner, child, or child of the intimate partner, if you have been convicted of a misdemeanor involving domestic violence, okay? Any of those say you can't own a firearm. Paul, I'm actually going to get to that, and it is true. Yeah, Spencer, then you just call yourself Hunter Biden. Okay. So here's the thing. If you have a medical marijuana card, you no longer have your Second Amendment rights. You may not. This isn't shall. Like this is a shall, may. Okay, medical marijuana card. You shall not possess a weapon.
I have a question.
It doesn't matter if it's legal in your state. Your state gun laws do not supersede the ATF Prohibited Persons and the Gun Control Act. So, it is still federally illegal. And yes, somebody raised it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has ruled, and if we really want to bore ourselves to fucking sleep, I will go through the ruling, that you forfeit your Second Amendment rights the minute you get a medical marijuana card while you have it. Because you are an unlawful user of the controlled substances under the Controlled Substances Act. It's not the state act, it is the federal act. This also applies to anybody that has been arrested for, convicted of, or at any point admitted publicly that they were addicted to drugs, went to rehab, or did time for it. It doesn't matter if you got busted for, drinking, and it doesn't matter. If you were taking someone else's narcotics, if you got busted for opiates 15 years ago, at some point, you were addicted to a controlled substance. The law does not say that you are currently using. It says, are you currently an addict, or have you been one? If you have been one, you're out. Okay? Great. They don't care. You cannot, and like I said, you can lose your 2A rights. Again, medical marijuana. If you hold your medical card, you may not have a concealed carry permit, nor may you be in possession of a firearm and or ammunition. Okay, hold on. Let's go back. Let's answer the question. What's your question first?
So what, I think you made it pretty clear, but if you don't have your card anymore, you can start getting stuff again. Like if the card expires or whatever.
Yes, I had a medical marijuana card for about a year, and then I got rid of it. And I had it while I
Okay.
was in the middle of like my radiation. But I got rid of it, and I had it because of a doctor.
So,
You know,
oh
but the
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
right? But
What did you do with all your guns and stuff during that time?
it doesn't. I can't have them. It does not prohibit my
Hmm.
father or a
Okay.
significant other or you or whatever from owning them. It's not like a red flag law where um they can't be in the residence. So here's the thing: something like if you're a prohibited person, there are different classes of prohibited persons, but it is considered that unless you fall under very specific conditions, as long as the weapons are not within like your reach. So if I didn't have a gun in my room, it was downstairs in the gun safe, and there was another adult who's legally allowed to possess it living in the house full time, it's fine. I just couldn't have it. And I didn't even sign up for my medical marijuana card. The oncology doctors
Hmm.
like handed it to me one day. But Spencer, what? Hold on. What don't you remember being asked? Um, Creed, if you are a foreign citizen, you may not possess a firearm in the U.S. You must be a citizen of the U.S. If you renounced it, you can't have it with if you formally renounced your citizenship, or if you are not a U.S. citizen.
Here's a weird question. It just popped into my head. What if you're so a Canadian Mountie? Say they're doing a joint investigation with an American law enforcement and they have to come stateside, are they still allowed to carry their weapon while they're stateside?
I'm gonna sound like a lawyer. It depends. No, Paul,
Okay.
I'm not trying to be you. Um, all the lawyers. It depends. So what
Okay.
generally happens is there's special provisions. Um,
Okay, so there's like provisionary rules.
there are special provisionary rules if you are in the U.S. on official business from a foreign government with permission of the U.S. for like a military exercise. You can.
Hmm.
Spencer, it did ask you because it said when you fill out that form for a gun, you're checking off that you've ever used or been addicted to. So you're out. So yeah, you can't have one. Um, the medical marijuana card thing has been coming up more and more as more states have legalized it medically and recreationally. But it is a question on the ATF form and asks if you have ever used or use or whatever. You can't. That's where they've gotten 100. I mean, they got 100 Biden, but oh no, Spencer. I know you're not questioning me. I'm just saying, like in general, the problem is people look at this and they say, "I'm not an unlawful user and I'm not addicted," but you have to read the fine print. And I know several people who have answered that, and and they're like, "No, because I'm not currently doing it or not addicted," and they got popped. So
And that's
if
prison
you're
time.
yeah.
Why
So
go
what?
to
Hold
prison?
on. Here's the other part to this, right? And this is where, um, you know what? I might as well just say this. If you think I'm talking about you, I probably am. Okay? If you're feeling like this is a subtweet string about yourself and you're feeling guilt, then it probably applies to you. Okay? I'm not. Hey, this is information. I'm a gun channel. But if you're gonna take it personally, well, then it probably does apply to you. So I don't want to hear it. But under the Gun Control Act, it is unlawful for any person under indictment for a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year to ship, transport, receive, or be in possession of firearms or ammunition. Furthermore, it is unlawful to sell or otherwise dispose of firearms or ammunition to any person who is prohibited. So, if you've been arrested and you haven't been tried, so you haven't been convicted, so in your mind you're like, I haven't been convicted of any of those things. Well, if you're under indictment, that grand jury done indicted you, you can't have it. No. All the no. Hey, Iris. All of the no. Now here's the other thing. This is under the Armed Arms Export Control Act. It prohibits the issuance of a firearms license to anybody who has been, convicted of a whole bunch of laws, like the Export Administration Act, anything relating to espionage involving defense or classified information, Section 16 of the Trading with the Enemy Act, the Security and Exchanges Act of 1934, sections of the Foreign Corrupt Practices, anything relating to sabotage, anything relating to the Internal Security Act of 1950, anything relating to the communication of classified information, anything pretty much, any violations of the Atomic Energy Act of 1954, Section 601 of the NSA Acts. If you have been found guilty of anything relating to the protection of the identity of an undercover officer, agent, or other source. Yep. Anything in the USC when you're violated, if you conspire to violate any of those statutes. You don't have to do it. If you conspired, you're done. Or anything involving the International Emergency and Economic Powers Act. Now, there are prohibitions, again, on certain types of firearms. And I already saw someone asking. Federal firearms laws prohibit transactions in and possessions of certain types of firearms. These include transfer or possession of a machine gun, manufacture, importation, sale, or possession of any firearm not detectable by airport security device, and possession of a firearm not registered as required under the National Firearms Act. So, under those three, that is where the ghost gun comment kind of thing, and I'm not talking about what a true ghost gun is, but when people are referring to if you 3D print gun parts, those fall under some of this. If you have 3D printed enough of a firearm that it's not detectable at airport security, then you're in trouble. And the reason I say that is, if you go look at what happened when, what was his name, Shinzo Abe was just murdered.
Yep.
I think Shinzo Abe. That would not have been necessarily detectable. So if you make essentially a zip gun, if you 3D print one, okay, that 3D printed weapon may only work once because the pressures and the heat are gonna fuck it up. But it's not legal. Even if it's only gonna work once. Okay? So if I have one more person send me an email that says so-and-so was convicted or so-and-so has been charged and the sentence that this person is facing is up to 10 years in jail, and it's greater than 360. Great, they can't own a firearm, be in possession, or touch one. Okay, end of discussion. There you go. Paul, yeah, no, I'm not saying the parts. That's why, Paul, that's why I specified and said if you have a 3D printed firearm or enough parts of to make it fully functioning. Because, yes, you can 3D print plenty of parts and it's fine. But generally, Paul, someone like you or I would be putting it on a serialized lower or on a serialized machined frame. If you go on Gun Talk and some of those things, you will find in these 3D printing communities plans and like the things you can download, and it tells you like the gun's only going to work once for one bullet because heat and pressure. But you know that. So, okay, those are prohibited persons. Now, yes, every state is unique when it comes to prohibited persons. Your state cannot say, I don't care that the ATF says this. We say you can have a gun, even though they say you can't. It doesn't work that way. They can only make it more restrictive. They can't make the Firearms Act less restrictive. Even a fully functional 3D printed gun, most need metal springs and things that are metal. Ammo is also metal. Yeah, Paul, but the thing is, it doesn't actually... So to violate the act and be prohibited, you don't actually have to have ammunition. You could just transport the 3D printed weapon. And I have seen, I know of 2 creators specifically online who have managed to essentially make springs out of the 3D printing filament. And again, it only really works once. But, you know, it's... There's a lot of intricacies with the 3D printing guns, gun parts, what's legal, what's not, and I'll save that for another day. But I'm just saying, like, in general, no. Like, let's not try to transport things, okay? Let me see some of the other questions before we go to the next section of fucking gun laws. What if you own the gun law before the order? So, what order? Do you mean like before you get committed? It depends on the state.
So, I have one more question for you.
Okay, now, and then I'm going to get the what qualifies for exemption, and I'm going to have to continue.
You ready? Okay, so I have been told, and I have not been able to verify this, that there is a form of 3D printer that can actually use metal as opposed to the regular type filaments.
That is true.
Now, if I 3D printed a gun with that shit, what would I'm kind of wondering what it would wind up? What would occur if I 3D printed it out of that?
It's not going to be legal.
Well, yeah, because the receiver wouldn't be serialized properly for start.
Yep. So that's not legal. What constitutes ammunition? The casing, like just a straight, they'll tell you can't just have like a spent casing or a round that is capable of being fired, or a blank. Nope, if you're addicted to weed, you cannot own a gun.
Wait, you can get addicted to weed?
Yes.
That's a thing?
Yep.
Does this mean that soft-sits or Moors who no longer contract with the government, are they allowed? See, Alan, that's kind of interesting. I mean, like, technically they would have had to formally renounce their citizenships, and I don't think most of them are smart enough to know how to renounce. But if they would have to formally renounce technically. But generally, most of them probably can't have them because they would fall under the "I'm a dumbass" restrictions, and I've gone to jail or I've been charged with or whatever. Yes, in Illinois, as soon as you applied for medical marijuana, your firearms cards are revoked. Paul, I mean, any firearms license in New York, I mean, that's why they just had that ruling, but so, that's problematic. No, Creed, you're not bringing a gun to our camp. What about machine guns and grandfathering? You cannot own a fully automatic weapon that works. And I will. No, Mayor McWrench, not completely. Automatic weapons before the assault ban are not all grandfathered and transferable. I literally just read you the statute that says you can't have it. There are things you can do to make it legal, but you cannot, in fact, just be like, yeah. Okay, I will go into that in a minute, and it's not iffy because that actually is going to fall under something else. I'll explain. Paul Cohen, somebody did this. Give me 1 second. And what other question did you have, Boom?
No, I was just like confused that people could actually get addicted to the weed. I didn't know that was real.
Yeah, I've seen some addicts.
Yeah, you actually can't. Hold on.
Oh my god.
There you go. It was in 2022, and New York changed their license because they gave somebody $21,000 for 3D printed parts. There you go. Go New York. Ruin it for everybody. Yes, weed is a scheduled substance federally, and I have already pointed that one out. Let's see. Before the protection order. So when an emergency protective order is... Parson, here's the problem. So it depends on your state. Generally, when a protective order is issued, they will tell you are not allowed to possess any weapons. It's in the, thing that they read, the boilerplate. There was a law passed. It used to be legal that you could turn guns over to a family member. We talked about this the other night. And the ATF has closed that loophole that you may no longer just turn weapons over to a random family member. If you're under an order to turn over a weapon because of that, like because of a specific domestic violence or violent crime, then you have to turn it over to either the police to hold or someone with an FFL.
And you won't do that because it's a pain in the ass.
I will not hold people's. What about jewelry made out of spent casings? Spencer, that is funny that you mention. I had a choker made out of .45 caliber casings for a while. And I actually wore it one day in high school and almost got arrested.
Yikes.
Fucking William Short. Goddamn motherfucker. Sorry, Boom. Sorry for that flashback. I know Boom's over there laughing at me. Fucking motherfucking Bill Short. God damn it. Spencer, that's generally up to who wants to be a bigger dick. about it. I still reload. You used to reload it. It's easier to just buy new. Patrick, it depends, and I can tell you when there was like the ammunition shortage, everyone was hitting me up to use my reloading stuff. Hold on, let's see. Demolition Ranch. Yep, people sold them to buy back for the $100 gift cards. Yep. Yeah. So that's the thing, and Spencer is correct. Marijuana is not. You cannot technically be chemically addicted to marijuana. It's a psychological addiction, not a physiologic addiction. Unlike alcohol, opiates, or anything where you'd withdraw, you don't withdraw from marijuana.
Because I knew a guy that couldn't go more than a couple of hours without a hit.
But it's psychological. It's not physiological.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So I was kind of confused that they would include that because it's like
it doesn't matter. It's a mind-altering substance. It's considered. It's a Scheduled 1 drug federally. You know. Mayor, that also depends on states. There are other things, okay, to it than just buying a pre-made machine gun that are not perfectly legal to possess or own. There are other laws and statutes in play, and I generally tell people when they've asked that, if you're thinking about buying a fully automatic weapon, that was from before the prohibition on fully automatic weapons, you need to go talk to a lawyer. You need to go talk to a lawyer that specializes in gun law. And you need to go talk to your state police and the ATF. You will very quickly run afoul. And it's not something you want. What?
I'm gonna ask a question on behalf of Zero. He said he was gonna ask, but probably isn't. Zero asks, what if you're addicted to smoking Parmesan cheese like Hunter Biden?
Yeah, I think up top I did say, then we just call you Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden has been a prohibited person for quite some time.
If you find enough Parmesan cheese that you're prohibited, that you've been ruled, then if you're addicted to it, then and you find illegal Parmesan, then go for it.
I assume caffeine and nicotine aren't on the list of we're addicted to this shit.
Yeah. So, see, Ellen, and that is correct. If you are considering buying an automatic firearm that is an antique, things like setting up a trust are a very good idea. But that's why I say you need to. It's not one-dimensional, okay? Yes, I can buy it, but then there's a whole other thing that comes behind that, part, right? And those rules, if you run afoul of them, are really problematic. So, now that we've talked about a prohibited person, no, you don't have to be convicted. For the 8 millionth time, if I look you up and you're on America and you're on a most wanted list, if you have charges pending, if you are out on bond, and for some reason generally it is a condition of your bond to surrender weapons. But if somehow the judge did not give you that condition in the bond, and the offense that you committed carries a jail sentence of 366 days or more, you can't. No guns. Except when made for transfer of machine guns to or possession of machine guns by government agencies and those lawfully possessed before the effective date of the prohibition. Mayor, I understand this. But here's the thing. They were lawfully possessed. Exemptions were made for the transfers of. It is not always. There are other things at play. Yeah, it might have been lawfully possessed, but if you're trying to transfer it now, and it was a lawfully possessed weapon then, there are very specific things that you need to meet. So here's the other thing. What is an FFL? It is your federal firearms license. Now, I swear to God, there's another email that's driving me fucking nuts from people. I have an FFL. If you claim to be a gunsmith, if you see, Alan, you are incorrect, and I can explain that in 1 second. Oh, we actually already saw that. If you get paid at all, if somebody is mailing you a weapon for you to gunsmith, even if it is just like, hey, I'm going to change the sights on it for you, you have to have an FFL. There are different classes of federal firearms licenses. There are ones for gunsmiths. There are one for commercial dealers. There are one for antique dealers. There are many classes. You need a federal firearms license to accept money for or work on other people's weapons where there's going to be a transfer of anything. Getting your federal firearms license is the biggest pain in the ass ever. It is expensive. It doesn't matter if you own it doesn't matter if you own a gun store or not. The ATF, when they were issuing an FFL, they reserve the right to inspect your house where you're gunsmithing. It's not an easy thing to get. 50 calorie machine guns can run $5 a cartridge. Patrick Dagliger, last time I bought actual rounds for the Barrett, they're about $9.50. About $9.50 a round. Yeah, 50 BMG right now is between $9 and $10 a round for average stuff. So there you go. Now, someone was asking me about the silencer thing. When it comes to what are called, they're not silencers, they are suppressors. If you want to own what is called an SBR, a short-barreled rifle, or a suppressor, or several other things that have exemptions, you need a Class 3 tax stamp. A suppressor will run, like the stamp to own the suppressor, will run you several $100s and take anywhere between 3 months to a year to get. So if you're like, I want to buy an SBR tomorrow, sorry, buddy. You can buy it, but that FFL is not going to hand it to you until you have your Class 3 tax stamp. Class 3 tax stamp, Creed. Yes, it is stupid that it's a tax stamp. No, we're going to have to explain this, aren't we?
Yeah, probably.
Probably, because people are going to wonder.
So you
Okay.
so were you talking about the 750 or the 660
Okay, guys.
grain?
So, a
For
Class
that.
3... okay. And okay, we ready? Ready? Mayor Wrench, this is where all your talks about guns, about machine guns, they're gonna come to right over here, right? A Class 3 stamp from the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, permits a qualified citizen to purchase Class 3 firearms restricted under the National Firearms Act. These firearms which cannot, under any circumstance, be transferred without the Class 3 stamp include machine guns, silencer/suppressors, short-barreled shotguns, short-barreled rifles, machine guns manufactured before May of 1986. So yeah, you can own it, but you better have that tax stamp. And if you're going to sell that exempt machine gun, they need a tax stamp. Purchase of these weapons requires fulfilling a bunch of requirements for the issue of the stamp, and it is a minimum $200 application.
Oof.
Mm-hmm. Now here's where it gets fun, right? Because they're called restricted firearms
Renew
transactions.
those?
What?
How often do you have to renew those stamps?
We'll get through all that. Hold on. You must be older than 21. You may not have had any felonies, any felonies or violent misdemeanor convictions, and no discharge from the military that was anything other than an honorable discharge. You must talk to your chief law enforcement official, aka the police, sheriff's department, district attorney, or state police, and verify in advance of their policy regarding your class 3 stamp. They have to sign it. The signature is at the discretion of the local chief law enforcement official. Some officials have a policy here. New York, raise your hand. California, raise your hand. Policy routinely declining all requests. ATF will not issue that stamp without the CLEO signature.
Oh,
You
boy.
gotta pay in full for the firearm from the FFL dealer that you're purchasing. The dealer then has to supply the ATF form and 2 sets of FBI done fingerprinted cards. You need passport photos to go with it. The ATF forms, fingerprint cards, CLEO signatures all have to be done, and then the CLEO has to look over everything, and the CLEO has to fingerprint you.
Oh, jeez.
So now we have 3 sets of fingerprints done by 2 different people, the ATF Form 4, the passport photos, and $200. Then you get to fill out ATF Form 533-20, the Certificate of Compliance. Yep, right there. And then it can take up to 120 days for the background check and the processing to complete. 120 days.
Damn, getting a TSC wasn't that hard.
Mayor, I know you said
either.
Mayor, I know you didn't say you were going to sell the automatics. I'm just saying. I know you personally wouldn't sell them. I am just saying, when people are like, "Ooh, I can." If someone comes back and is listening to my stream, they're like, "Well, someone in the chat said they could own an automatic weapon, but it was from before this date, so it's okay." That's why we're going to point this out, because YouTube enrolls and stupid. Okay, so we're gonna point out all of the things. Okay. So then we get to even things are even more fun. Certain states have things. Certain states require you to have another tax stamp, like Florida.
Yeah.
They don't care that you have your ATF one. You have to have both. So it will take you fucking damn near forever. See, Alan, they do not take you out for lunch and tell you you look pretty. I'm sorry. If you're near me, I will take you out to lunch and tell you look pretty, because you've sent me lovely, lovely emails that were very thought-provoking. And both of your emails, if you would ever like to come and discuss what was in the emails, I will gladly jump up on a panel and we can discuss them. So now is where we're going to also come to stupid questions, right? There's this discussion about stabilizing braces. You can't have one currently. It is being fought out. But don't walk that line, right? Let's not walk that line. So if you have a record, you best be damn careful with weapons. Okay? And like I said, if you are personally offended or you think I'm talking to you or your situation, and you think you fit into one of my criteria and comments, I don't know what to tell you. What I will say is you need to make sure anything involving a firearm is crisp, clean, I's dotted and T's crossed. So, I think the next question somebody was asking had to do with exempted. Was that the one they wanted?
I think so. Exempted firearms? Yeah, it's the antique types.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pull up the exact statute next to me because I refuse to quote things wrong, unlike some people. So, what you're going to need if it's an antique firearm would be the ATF form number 6. Yay! Okay. ATF form 6. You need it for import of any anything that's considered antique, right? Now, I will say, under all of this, it does tell you that foreign military personnel on official assignment to the U.S. can bring them in for exclusive use while on duty in the U.S., excluding banned weapons. But, so there. Because that's another question. But where is this? Here we go. Okay, so the antique firearms regulations state that what counts as an antique? For a firearm or weapon to be classified as an antique under the new law, which changed about 2 years ago, it must have been manufactured before the 1st of September of 1939. It must either have a propulsion system of a type specified in the 2021 regulation, which those ones would be muzzle loaders, pin fire, needle fire, or the chambers are those that the firearm had when it was manufactured, or a replacement that is identical in all material aspects and is chambered for use with the cartridge specified in the 2021 regulation. And it must be sold, transferred, purchased, acquired, or possessed as a curiosity or ornament, i.e., you may not fire it even occasionally. Which is where people get in trouble. They get these antique guns and they're like, I can fire it. It's an antique. Nope. Nope. All the nope. So, under the 2021 regulation, go 2021. What calibers are we talking about? 41s, 44s, 320 British, Colts, Dutch, Hispaniolas. There's a lot. But it needs to be all. So, it's got to be an old weapon. Like before the 1920s. And you can't use them. If you use it, technically it could be subject to some issues. But here's the other problem under the antiques thing. Everybody remembers, 303 British. I mean, the one Papa gifted me is 454 Hispaniola. It's the rolling block. But here's the thing. You have to remember, guys, that not all antiques are antique. If you buy a rifle from somebody that purports to be... Hey, Cynthia. Hey, C. Allen. C. Allen, some of the laws have changed. some of the firearms and antiques laws have changed in the past 2 years. Some of them it has to be before 1895. Some of certain classes and certain weapons it's 1920. But again, see, Alan, it's specific to certain weapons, and like I could literally not sit here and list them all off. I'd have to look them all up, and that's why when I talk about guns and gun laws, I always say like what I'm giving you is with the most current whatever is, but in 3 months it can change, so you need to do your due diligence and check. But we know you're antique opal. It's okay. I will say that I have seen a situation where somebody purchased an antique rifle. It was a nice Remington trapdoor. And they're like, I bought it from this guy on the internet. It's an antique, so I didn't need to go through an FFL. And I looked at it. Actually, technically, you can buy a cannon. They're not illegal in the United States. As long as it's like a pre 1890s. Yeah, like pre 1895. Yeah, you can have a cannon. But I mean, hey, why not? And the person showed it to me, and I was like, yeah, that's not an antique. So that's the problem. You got to be real careful with things that are considered antique weapons. It actually has to be antique. If it's a reproduction of an antique, it falls under the modern rules. So if you're not really good at authenticating an antique, you may want to involve somebody that is
a professional.
Because once again, that will get you into a heap of trouble. And unfortunately for most people, ignorance is not a valid excuse in law. Nope. So, there we go. We've covered the FFL and prohibited people. So people can stop emailing me asking me if somebody is a prohibited person. I am also going to say, I'm going to say this once. I'm going to say this once for the people in the back. I really don't give a flying fuck about drama. Boom can attest to how little I tolerate drama. She has known me since high school. I didn't do drama even in high school. Right, Boom?
Loki's fucks to give balance for drama is actually in the red. She is indebted fucks to give.
Oh, I didn't tell you this. So the other day, Micro and she was talking. Jay and I were making fun of things, and she was arguing with Minnie and goes, "Behold, the foul feel agwodum." And he was like, "What?" She goes, "Behold, the foul field I go fucksin." Okay, so she's trying to say, "Behold the fallowed field she grows her fucksin," guys. Okay, that's what, because Lord knows with the cute little person's speech impediment, we were all standing there staring at her for like 5 minutes. What the fuck are you talking about?
You know what? I went into debt in the Fox to Give department about 35 years ago.
Yeah, but so like I was saying, it is like to know what not to talk about drama wise. Like it really, yeah, like it really doesn't matter what the drama is. What I am saying is, if you are going to come out there and say, "Ha ha, person X is a prohibited person that can't own a weapon," you should probably look at yourself and see if you're a prohibited person that can't own a weapon. Do not make fun, or do not try to pick somebody apart for not being allowed to have a weapon if you yourself is a prohibited person. Stop asking me if I care.
I do
Stop
have a
sending me
random
emails
question.
asking if I care. What?
So, say someone's a prohibited person and they file for their concealed carry or something like that, would there be like a hole in the system where they would get their permit? Or would
No, and I
like,
can actually. You want to really
okay,
wait? Okay, you're so so when you went downtown to go get your concealed carry permit,
Hmm.
you went to the downtown. You went
No,
downtown to
I
get
did
yours,
it. I
right?
did it in our town. They had one of those pop up things.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know. Well, I didn't know if you went to the pop up out here because the line for the pop up. Okay,
It was
so
kind of crazy, yeah.
yeah, I know the lines are crazy. So if you go into downtown to do it, the office that you're doing it, you actually walk through like this big stone archway and you're in a courtyard because the building that has the sheriff's office is like a big square, but it has a massive courtyard in the middle.
Mhm.
So you walk into the courtyard, and on the far side of the courtyard is the door. When you open the door to the sheriff's office, that where they do your concealed carry permit, I will tell everybody right now, PA is one of the easiest places to get one. Like in like 15 minutes, you're out with it. Opal, at last check, a flamethrower was not something you need, so you're good.
But he's a drag.
Yeah, you don't need it. You're okay. So it's like 12, 15 minutes. Like it's insanely quick. I hear about like all these states where they're like, oh my god, I had to submit this, this, and this, and I was told I'd find out in 30 days. I'm like, shit, I was out in 15 minutes. I told my dad to circle the block. Paul, what do you mean? Wait, where's that? Where is the to get your firearm? The state of Pennsylvania. It's $25 in 15 minutes. So you go through this courtyard and you open the
Oh,
door.
is it Pennsylvania has the fucks to give on the subject?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, yeah, $25, cool. So you go through this courtyard, right? And you open the door, and you're in this little, maybe 10-foot by 10-foot room that has two doors. Now, just imagine there is a door at the 12 o'clock and a door at your 9 o'clock. The door at your 9 o'clock has a giant sign on it, and it's in like bright yellow, and it says, do not lean up against this door and do not stand in the path of this door's opening because the doors open outwards into the room you're in. Because there is a courtroom on the other side.
Oops.
It's not a courtroom, it's actually the bailiff's holding area.
Uh-oh.
And they've had people that are like leaning against the door, and like then it gets open, and the building is, stone. It's a historic building, and like these doors weigh as much as I do. They're giant wooden, it's not a modern building. And
You're talking about the courthouse with the fountain in the
yeah,
courtyard, right? Okay.
right. So I mean, like, you're going to get nailed with like this 200-pound, like, 10-foot tall wooden door that looks like it's on a castle if you're standing in the wrong place. So they're like, don't. And then there's 3 little kids' school desks. The one that has the desk attached to the chair that like no adult fits in for you to sit down to fill out your paperwork. Because it's literally a single sheet of paper. And as Boom can attest, it's $25 and you're going to have it in 15 minutes. So they have the stack of them. You grab it, you sit down, you fill it out, and the door that's at the 12 o'clock, you open the door. You are now standing right in front of a desk. There is no room for more than 2 people. You hand it to the nice sheriff's deputy. They turn around. They hand it to someone sitting down at a computer who's going to run the background checks. And they tell you to go back out into the waiting room and send the next person in. About 10 minutes later, they'll open the door and call your name. You go in, they take your picture, they hand you your concealed carry card. Great, we're done. 25. Yeah. I think I told my dad last time I got it, I'm like, just drive around the block, don't bother parking. Like, you're in and out that fast that you can literally just have someone circle the block once or twice. You'll be done by then. Nobody cares. And strangely, our county it actually takes longer in our county than some of the other ones.
Oh, jeez.
Some of the other ones, they drive through do them pretty much. But whatever. So when I got my impermeable gloves, I go in, I hand them my thing, and I go out and I'm waiting. And this guy looks at me, he's like, how long does it usually take? And I'm like, oh, like 10 to 15 minutes. It depends on how many people, they're running. Or like if you have a really common name, occasionally it'll take a little bit longer. Or, hey Thomas, if you have a name close to somebody else, right? If you have a name close to someone else that does have a record and is prohibited, they will, run it. It may take a few more minutes. I don't think I've ever seen it take more than like 20. Now, there's only there's three outcomes. They give you your permit. Number two, they tell you to go home. They can't give you a decision either way, and you will get a card within 30 days. I have seen that happen once, and it is because they could not verify the person's information against the background check. In that case, it wasn't a problem with the person. There was an issue with the NCIC background check system. So, results were not coming back. But you'll get a card in the mail, and it'll, tell you that within 30 days, come back with this card, and we'll hand you your permit. Or you get told you can't have one. Now, here's the thing. I already told you what makes a prohibited person. So just keep that in mind. It's on there. So I go in and I give them the thing, and I know the sheriff's deputies that are working because I've worked with them. And they're like, yeah, you should be on in a minute. We'll bump you up in the line. And I go back in to get it, and they're like, was the guy out there asking you how long it takes? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes like, oh, okay, cool. Come over here. And he goes, lean in. And I lean out. He goes, tell him there's a problem with the system, and it's going to take an extra 15 or so minutes for his thing to come back that he had a common name. And we'll, just hold tight. I'm like, okay. And I'm leaning in. The guy goes, he has 4 warrants out for his arrest. They're all felony warrants.
Oh!
All they were waiting for was for those other 2 doors to magically open for the guy to go in handcuffs with the sheriff's deputies. How stupid are you?
Wow.
4 felony warrants that you walked into the county courthouse and lied on the firearms application in the courthouse where there's a door to the bailiff's room right there.
That's... No, you have to be making that up. Nobody is that stupid.
Oh, no, I made it right to the fountain in that courtyard that you're thinking of. I made it to the fountain about the time I heard those 2 big wood doors slam open and my man gets taken into the ground. Because it echoes in that courtyard. I was dying.
The answers are yes, maybe, and you're on your way to jail.
Pretty much. Yes, not 1 call, 4. You literally 4 felony warrants. How are you this dumb? Like, I have questions.
I'm pretty sure you told me this story before whenever I was talking about going down and getting
Oh, yeah, I know I did. Yeah. Like, they were that dumb. And I was just like, my man over here, he's got a set of brass balls right there. So mosey on up and think they're not going to notice. So, Parson, or Patrick, or whoever asked, yeah, if you are prohibited, you will know as soon as you apply.
Opal, you're right. My manager was that stupid.
Opal, you are talking about the person that Micro literally shamed and accused of showing a child pornography.
Was she wrong? No, she was not.
Oh yeah, Paul, that happens all the time. I love those. Come get your prize. And they show up to the police department and they're like, they even did an episode of Simpsons on it where Homer tries to win a boat, goes to jail. Yeah. Paul, I have seen that one several times.
Yeah, that one gets people.
Yeah, but I don't understand why. You know you didn't apply for something. Where was the other one? Oh, Seattle was saying. Illinois plays a lot of games with it. They don't tell you when you need to renew your CCW or FOID. So in Pennsylvania, you don't need an FOID. For those that don't know what it is, it's a firearms owner identification. Some state you need to get a permit just to buy a weapon. You know, states like Pennsylvania, you don't need anything to buy the weapon other than not be prohibited on a background check. You just can't carry it concealed.
Oh no! Ow! No, that's bad. Bad chief of police in Kansas somewhere.
Cynthia, it is more common than you know. So we have in a neighboring county, there was a police chief, and Boom's gonna like die of laughter in a minute. He blew his hand off, or most of his hand off, with fireworks. 4th of July.
I feel like I heard about this.
Well, I made fun of him. I'm not gonna lie. I made fun of him for blowing his hand off with fireworks, but we're just not gonna go there. And while he was out, he engaged in discourse with a minor online. Lots of it. And of those things, and had the same accusations, Cynthia Carenshaw. The problem is, at the exact same time, this genius police chief decided to sue the municipality he worked for because they were like, hey, with the injury to your hand, we don't feel you can come back and do the job right. We don't think you can, you know. And he's like, I can do it and I will prove it. And he just had a bigger spotlight shown on him. And real quick, it came out that he was a child predator. Like, you've gotten away with it, so let's lie low. Let's not. Let's not.
Yes, Paul, they did indeed, and they managed to put it through a frozen chicken.
Yes, they did. Not only did they do that, they also did the Homer Simpson and a wrecking ball, which is my favorite MythBusters episode ever.
I like the one where they got the cement, where they were trying to do the whole cement mixer experiment. One of them got screwed up. They put a bunch of explosives in it, and it went away.
Yeah.
But yeah, she could throw a stick of dynamite into the back of a cement mixer with all the crap on it, and it'll dislodge a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot.
Yeah, but
best explosion ever.
This was like the dumbest police chief. I'm like, well, why are you? Okay. No, yeah, Paul. I still like the one where they had the giant wrecking ball and crane, and the giant ballistics Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
And they tried to knock down a house with Homer Simpson. Great.
Yeah.
Frozen pig launcher. Yeah, that works. I can.
Don't forget the chicken gun.
Yeah, chicken guns.
But they do it 4 times.
I can attest. I have seen alternate things that should, in most people's minds, not be lethal, cause problems.
I don't remember that one, C. Ellen, but it's not impossible. Actually, no, I think I do remember that one.
Yeah, that's why they moved out to California bombing. That's why they started doing everything at the California's their bomb disposal, their EOD place.
Yeah.
So, Spencer, the myth is, if you were watching, The Simpsons is one of the most mathematically and factually, scientifically correct shows out there. And
That's wild.
There's a reason for it. But Mr. Burns wants to build a highway. And this highway has to go right through the Simpsons' house. And the Simpsons don't want to move or sell their house. So, and Sideshow Bob is involved because Sideshow Bob. And so Sideshow Bob has them show up with a wrecking ball and a crane. And Homer jumps onto the wrecking ball. And puts himself between wrecking ball and house while this wrecking ball is being swung, and the house survives. Doesn't get knocked over and whatever. And so they wanted to see if a ballistic gel Homer Simpson attached to a wrecking ball could protect the house. And it did. And I laughed. Yes, Paul, much like Miley Cyrus and the wrecking ball, although this was way before that. Hold on.
Mind you, I would not attempt this. That would hurt a lot.
They actually
had... You would get destroyed in the process.
Oh my lord.
I think we need to talk to Dr. Rayner again about that one.
It did stop it, and there you go. This is a book by Simon saying it explains that the majority of the Simpsons people are math geeks. A bunch of the writers have advanced degrees in mathematics.
That's how they're always predicting the future.
Yeah.
That's actually funny. I like it.
But I get Buster. Spencer, it did stop it, and on top of it, Homer didn't die because they even put bones into it to see if the bones would break. And other than one or two ribs, they didn't. Dr. Rayner. Yeah, Chris has seen it. I just was helping Chris film one involving he just did a video about the original Mortal Kombat Fatalities remastered.
Ah, yes.
And I was like, okay, why not?
Well, I think would know quite a bit about on the ground trauma.
I do know a lot about it. Where?
I didn't wind up learning a lot about on the ground trauma, just large permanent wound tracks.
So, before I forget. Where is this? Where'd it go? So the Alaska, we were talking about earlier. Hold on. Boom, like we were talking before. This is what the Alaska mosque looks like right now.
Oof. Wow.
Wait, where am I looking? Oh, there.
It was on the screen for a sec.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think anybody would go about doing that.
Hamas did it. It wasn't an Israeli strike.
Again, I would expect Hamas to not do that. The Israelis doing it? Yeah, maybe, but probably not.
Ron, my darling, I have to email you or talk to you. I have a little bit of thought on your case.
Yeah, folks,
yeah,
don't forget to like, subscribe, share with everybody, whether you know them or not.
yeah, like, subscribe, share,
Do
become
it
a
or
member,
else.
do all the stuff, join the Beasties, have fun with the Beastie Fund. We go support everybody. Um, yeah, I mean, it's getting nasty in Israel right now. Actually, I'm gonna try to call my cousins in a few minutes and see if I can get an answer on any of them, because a few of them still have phone service at last check.
Okay.
No, Spencer, they just missed. I've talked to quite a few people, and I have
I
some
think
very in-depth knowledge in general about the Israeli military and life in Israel, and I've lived there. Um, what people don't realize is the entire um
that was the Temple of the Rock. Yes. No.
the entire country of Israel fits inside New Jersey. North to south, east to west, it fits in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah, it's not very big.
So, but that's the thing people don't realize. And then I had someone ask me, how did all of these airstrikes happen? Because Israel's known for the Iron Dome, right?
You can overwhelm it.
It had nothing to do with overwhelming the Iron Dome. The Gaza Strip is inside Israel.
Oh, jeez.
It's inside the Iron Dome system. Is the problem. Some of these attacks were launched by a hang glider. I don't even want to know. Yeah, Pat, they haven't really gone for quote unquote revenge yet. Pray for the civilians, but I take issue that 600 people were killed at a music festival. And 1,500 are injured, more than 600 are dead. And they've got several hundred hostages, including Americans, German citizens, and people that they believe to be Israeli. That if you go on TikTok or on YouTube or on places, you will literally see them leading. A lot of times these are 16-year-old girls in flexi cuffs being led around, bleeding, injured, and they are publicly torturing and murdering their hostages, and it's ridiculous. You will see girls being led around at gunpoint by a terrorist that are bloody and injured, and you're never going to see them again. It is ridiculous. I don't generally do politics, and I'm not going to get into the politics of the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian versus the Israeli. I'm not getting into that aspect. But I will tell you, it is ridiculous. What they are doing and what is going on is inhumane. It is insanity, and the atrocities that are happening are far worse than what is being done in the Ukraine and Russia. And there is a very big anti-Jewish, anti-Israel bias. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar have come out and said that they're supporting Hamas in all of this. And they're in U.S. government. That's ridiculous. Yeah, Patrick, and that's the thing. This poor blonde girl that was being paraded around in flexi cuffs that's already been injured and tortured, and they're dragging her behind a car. Why are we? No.
Well,
it's
one thing I can say is that Hamas was not a signatory to the Geneva Convention.
Right. And the problem, and I've told people this all the time, right? The problem is, and Ron is 100% right, Iran is backing Hamas.
That
Iran,
does not surprise me on any level.
Iran openly admits they are backing them. They helped with the planning and they provided a lot of the weapons. Yes, you got the first strike in. You have killed tons of Israelis and tourists, and you're holding hostages and all of that. I can tell you, last night, overnight for there, uh, it looked like when the U.S. went after Baghdad with the shit coming from the air. You know, and right now, it's insanity over there. Um, you know, a lot of my family's there, and most of them have been caught up in our military, and so I don't. But you don't want anybody to go through this. War is not pretty. I'm going to point out one thing. I mean, this has been tried over and over and over again. People forget, there's such a thing as the 6 Day War and the Yom Kippur War and all of that. Israel has always been this tiny ass country surrounded by very large countries that want to wipe it off the face of the planet. You may get those first strikes in. They are very good once they're on guard. You caught them off guard, good job. That's sarcasm.
Yeah, well done.
But
I wouldn't want to be there right now.
What will ensue, and what I will say, and again, this is not political. If you are a fan of lawyers on YouTube, I did talk to him today. DUI guy Larry Foreman did make it out of Israel. He was there. He managed to make it out of the country barely. As far as I know, there's at last check, Ian Runkle's parents had not made it out yet. But they've been working to get Runkle's parents out. But I did talk directly to Larry, DUI guy, and he made it out of the country, and he's in Europe. Yeah, Sandy. I mean, there was hundreds of people at a music festival. That was not anything.
That's just evil.
They literally, went after and bombed the music festival. You know what, Opal? I'm not picking like any of it. I am saying I'm not picking a side. Israel's done fucked up shit, and the Palestinians have done fucked up shit. Like, I'm not gonna pick a side in there. What I am saying is, you had hundreds of people at a music festival. That is not what you bomb.
Civilians that had nothing to do with anything. That is evil.
They're not on either side. One of the girls that was tortured and drug around in flexicuffs, and they show them taking her in and out of a Jeep and all of this stuff. She's German. She's not Jewish. She's German. She was there for the music festival. They are holding. Yes, it did. It happened on the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. So again, you caught them off guard, but it's not going to end well. They have, I think it's estimated, between 150 and 200 hostages. The majority of which are women and children and not military. And they're being held in the tunnels that run through the Gaza, the underground tunnels. 260 kids, there you go. No, Creed, they hit their own mosque. This is ridiculous. I'm not picking, and Opal's right. You can't pick a side correctly. I'm not picking sides. I am saying you took this fight to someplace you shouldn't have. Don't 2,000 wrongs one day magically turn into a right. Nope. But targeting civilian things, you're not even targeting valid military things.
This is what we talk about when we're discussing soft civilian targets. You don't want that music festival was absolutely packed full of them.
Spencer, you're right. It's not, and the problem is technically Hamas is a terrorist organization. It always has been, and then they somehow turned it into a valid political party and elected it into government. And that was never going to end well. But it doesn't. Oh yeah, Paul, I know they do it on purpose. They did it on the history. They did it on the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. We know that they go for. You historically have to attack Israel when they're not expecting it or whatever and catch them off guard, because the reality is Israel has held off multiple countries at the same time, and even while doing that, they took over almost the entire Sinai Peninsula. They are always outmanned. They are surrounded. But what people forget is when you have a country that's been under attack its entire existence, once you get that first strike in, the retaliation is going to be bad. And Sandy, yeah, you mourn for the innocents. There were so many people there for a musical festival, or kids, or none of these people deserve to be attacked. You're not going after military targets. You're intentionally going after large civilian areas. I have a ton of family there. My little cousin Yaeli just had a baby 2 weeks ago.
Not good.
She's a 2-week-old newborn.
Wow.
Yeah, Opal, and that's what I'm saying. You had all these civilians and all these people that went to a music festival. And that was the first target Hamas hit. They bombed the music festival. Spencer, and the thing is, that's what you said, and mosques apparently. The problem is, and that's why I pointed out how small it is inside of New Jersey. It doesn't take a lot if you're off target slightly to have a very, very bad, everyone forgets that Creed, it's not questionable how they didn't know about it. Iran backed it and Iran planned it. They've already admitted it. And you also have to remember the Gaza is not that small. I mean, it's small compared to the United States, but it's fairly decent in size, population-wise, and when you look in comparison to the whole country. But they have outside help. And the other thing is, you have to understand, air raid sirens in Israel, like when I was there, they went off all the time. You will be sitting at the beach. I remember very clearly sitting at the beach in this place called Jaffa. And all of a sudden, you see, it was like, they like to have raves on the beach, okay? I can attest that the movie Don't Mess with the Zohan, when they're showing them partying in Israel and on the beach and stuff, that really is how it is. They have raves on the beach in Jaffa every night. It's insanity. But you saw what looked like fireworks, right? And I was like, fireworks? No, it's the Iron Dome going off. So, yeah, no, that's the Iron Dome. But I am. Give me 1 second. 1 more second, guys. It's just insanity to me.
Well, for what it's worth, the fastest way to get to terrify the population isn't to perform strikes against the military. It's to get to the civilians.
Yeah.
The people that are just not doing anything other that are not doing anything. Terrorist places to scare people.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. Their intent is to scare you, and if they can scare you, then you might actually capitulate rather than risk anybody else getting blown up.
Yeah, no one's gonna convince Roseboro to stop. They're big mad. Mayor Wrench, how's the shoulder doing, darling?
I think he actually went and curled up.
No, I just saw him at 11:19, so it was a minute ago.
Okay.
Yeah, Ron, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating because, like, the majority, like, I can't get a hold of a lot of my family, so that's incredibly frustrating. But
Well, that would explain the busy part. Okay.
I mean, Mick Wrench, I just asked how your shoulder was and how you were feeling, honey. But yeah, I mean, it has nothing to do with politics. My heart hurts for all the women, children, like all the bystanders that have nothing to do with any of this and are now in the middle of all of it. Because then what? Oh, thank you, Cynthia. They're all military. I mean, obviously, it's mandatory in Israel that you're in the military. But the majority of my family that are there, a lot of the guys are in special forces and career, so they'll be safe. I mean, you know, my grandmother always used to say, what will be will be. There's no use, obsessing over things you can't control. But it's all good. Although I did boom. If you look at Cynthia Karenshaw's thing, the fan thing, do you know who this anime person is?
No, I've never heard of them.
Okay.
But I could write it in hiragana.
Yeah, see, Alan, I've listened to some of the talking heads. I can tell you, it's actually really interesting to watch the difference in reporting. Depending on, I mean, if this is over in a day, whatever it'll be, it's not gonna be over in a day. But Ron, there is some news coming out, and that's what I was gonna say. If you want to, if we get to a point where somebody, if we as a group, right, and we want to watch reporting, hey Mayor, look at your phone. I have no problems pulling up the Israeli language channel, the Hebrew channels, like the Israeli overnight, and I can translate. Mayor, I sent you a message. But watching the reporting like from the two different sides is really interesting to me. And when they get the translations wrong, I love it. Some of the I can tell when people are using like Google Translate for things because I'm like, those words. Did I tell you about the accidental racist in the Jewish community here?
What?
Boom, I think I told you about this.
No.
I didn't hear about that.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, you might have.
So I was in a very, very religious area near where I live. And Judaism tattoos are not a thing. And I saw this guy who had a very large tattoo on the inside of his forearm. And it was 3 letters in Hebrew. And I was staring. And I'm not real good at being slick about it. I was just like staring at him. And he goes, "You like my tattoo?" And I'm like, kind of. What does it say? Now, mind you, I'm fluent in the language and can read it. So I know what it says, but I just reading it had me concerned. I will look, Mayor. I didn't see. Let me look at my Discord while we're talking. And he goes, he goes, I mean, like, I wouldn't expect you to understand. Like, this dude was a strange neck beard in a way. Um, I saw the Discord. Thank you. So, I just, it reminds me of, like, like the chicken soup thing. When people are like, "Hey, I, whatever. Oh, I got a Chinese character," and you're like, it probably says chicken soup. Dumb American. Like one of those things. Like, what is Sheldon on the Big Bang Theory? He says Penny has one. It says something wrong, whatever. And the guy goes, "It means what? Like, what is this?" And I must have had that. Boom knows the look I would have had. Like the mouth half open, just staring at you, like, "Are you this stupid?" Look that I get. And he goes, "It's like existential. Like, what is this? Like, what even is this?"
Oh my god. What even is this is extent.
But you know what I mean? Like, what is
Yeah.
this? And I'm like, "Oh, so you wanted a tattoo that said Maze. What is this?" And he goes, "That's what it says." I said, "No, your tattoo says matzah. You just tattooed the word cracker on your arm."
I did hear that story, actually.
You literally tattooed cracker on your forearm. You're white. You tattooed a racial. Sir? Ron, my grandmother had 55357 tattooed on her arm, and I have it on my ribs. Like I said, my grandmother had 55357. That was not willing, and I have it tattooed on me willingly, because she used to always wear long sleeves, would never show anyone because she was embarrassed by it. And I said it was not something to be embarrassed by. It was something to be proud of and say, "I survived. Go fuck yourself." She used to always tell people that she was one of the few people that had passed through the gates of Auschwitz more than once. And the last time she passed through the gates at Auschwitz, she walked through on her own for one of the Holocaust remembrance things and very promptly flipped them off and said something really inappropriate in Hungarian. So, yes, Creed, he was right, white. But when I say he had, like, each letter, it's just 3 Hebrew letters. Each one was probably like 3 inches by 3 inches, like giant fucking block letters. You tattooed cracker on your arm.
Of course he did.
I just want to know who you asked or who
Who did that to you?
Who did you ask, and how much fun of you were they making you while you got that? And then you're walking around an area that probably 75% of the people are fluent in that language and are all laughing at you.
Yes, they are.
Patrick Downer, Auschwitz, damn. Yep. The gates say, Arbe macht frei, work will set you free, and it's not true. It was bullshit. And she went in and out on a cattle car once, and then she walked herself in and through those gates on her own. The guy's tattoo was supposed to mean "what is this," which is ma-ze, which is actually 4 letters, but it's 2 words. And instead of ma-ze, they went with matzah.
Oh boy.
So they went with cracker. Yeah, Paul.
More on
it
that.
said what? Creed, it said cracker. It said matzah. Cracker.
This is why you don't get a tattoo in a language you don't understand.
Spencer, because they thought it was gonna say maze, which means "what is this?" Like, that whole existential, like, what world? Like, what is this? Like, what is this world we're even in? Oh no, on the gates of Auschwitz it says "Arbe macht frei," work will set you free, and it's not true.
Oh, absolutely.
It was put there to try to convince people it was a labor camp and that what was going on wasn't going on. And, you know, my grandmother's family, you know, she went in through the cattle cars, and we have a video of her talking. I have a video of her telling her story. And, you know, yes, it was put there to give them false hope. Yes, Creed, that's where that saying is from. And if you listen to her interview, the interviewer says, you know, what's the first thing you remember on getting out of the cattle car? And she says, I met Joseph Mengele, and then I watched a Nazi stomp a lady's infant baby to death. Okay. But she went back, and she wanted to go back so she could prove that she won. Yeah, Spencer, I know it was at Dachau too. There's actually a book called Dawn After Dachau and Life in the Shadow of the Holocaust, and one of my family members wrote Dawn After Dachau because that's the camp he was in. I do know, guys. I do know, and Croc and I have talked about it, and I think Sandy was a part of this discussion once. If you want to actually see the video of my grandmother, yeah, I'll answer that one second, Paul. If you want to see the video, and you actually want whatever, we will set it up with a private link. Because I'm not going to put that out to the public, and I want to know who has the link, kind of thing, so we can control it. But I have no problem showing her interview. Yeah, Cynthia, she is, and she was always, you know. Paul emailed me, and yeah, we'll set it up, and we can all watch it.
I was going to put that together on the Discord. In a special
that's fine. We'll figure it out. Yeah, Paul, I have my grandmother and one of her sisters were both interviewed as part of the Shoah Project or the Schindler Project. And my grandmother got to testify at one of the last trials for one of the last living Nazis. I'd have to look for it. I actually managed to get a copy of the camp logs that show my grandmother and all of her family being processed into the camp. I have the logbook from that day. But I'm going to try, and it is my goal. I was talking to Larry, DUI guy, about it. Depending on what's going on, I am going to attempt to afford. I have to see how much it's going to be next year. I want to go do the March of the Living again and go back to Auschwitz myself. So I want to go to fuck off. You interviewed a survivor once. She was online to the gas chamber. It didn't work that day, and she lived. Yeah, my grandmother's mother was brilliant, and she realized that they were separating families, right? And so what she did is she spaced the daughters out in line, and as soon as they went through the line, she brought them all back together. And my great grandmother kept her and 5 of her kids together through 3 concentration camps, a ghetto, 2 death marches, and 2 sets of cattle cars. They were one of the largest intact family groups to make it through. But yeah, you know, someone said the one day, you know, why did your grandmother want to go back? And she said her answer was, you brought me through those gates and took me out of them in a cattle car, and now I'm going to willingly walk through as a person and tell you to go fuck off. I set myself free. Yeah, no, my grandmother, she was one hell of a woman. When you listen to her tell her story, you'll she had a really bad habit. Yeah, Paul. I mean, yeah, it's awful. It's happened, but the stories. She had a really bad habit of telling people to fuck off. And kind of like you said, someone, the, what's next kind of thing. My grandmother would always say, it could be worse. And someone always says, like, oh, with your cancer, like, why don't you get upset? Why don't you feel bad? Because it's real hard to feel bad for yourself and have a pity party. Well, my grandmother done lived through 3 concentration camps and all this shit and didn't complain once. Well, you want me to? No, I'm not complaining. She scares me. Like, her answer, yeah, it could be worse. And you're always just like, you're right, it could. You know, she stopped to help a little girl in one of the death marches. And the Nazis said, keep going or I'm going to shoot you both in the back. And her answer was, okay, can't be any worse than what you're doing now. She said she fully expected to get shot, and he didn't. I think he was probably just too confused. Fuck, she was just like, no.
It's like, nah, fam, we're gonna do it this other way.
Like, literally, her answer was just, no. Okay. Okay, Grandma, please just. Yeah, Boom's heard the story. Yeah, my grandmother got into an accident once, and her response was, the Nazis couldn't kill me. Do you think a car can? And my exact response was, yes, Grandma, I think it can. This is not apples and oranges. This is apples and hand grenades, okay? I'm not... Okay. That was her forever answer. Nice, Ron. But yeah. No, I will... We can watch the video, and like I said, I'm going to do it through a secure link. But I will do it through a link because there's enough information in the video of her story that I need to be comfortable with the people watching it, just because there's personal identifying information involved, and it is my grandmother, and I'm not going to let anyone talk bad about her, because then I would kill someone. Yes, Paul, I know what it means. Yeah, Cynthia, brass ovaries. She did. She passed away last year at 99. And even up until the very end, her standard answer was go fuck off, pretty much. She, up until the very end, walked to the grocery store, got her stuff, and walked back. She didn't care. Well, one of your answers.
Sometimes folks just don't have a single fuck you.
Patrick, she never really talked about it. Other than she told her story for the Holocaust Project, because they always say never forget, and if you don't pass the story along. So she told it for that, and she'd speak at Holocaust Remembrance Day, but it was just a very matter-of-fact thing in my family. I did not get a lot of the details until I got to watch her interview, and I will not lie, and I will not front, and I will not act like I am a badass. I threw up. When they opened the Holocaust Museum in DC, we all got to go, and my grandmother got to go as a guest because, they invited the survivors, and she made people physically ill because she walked into. They have if you go to one in Washington DC, they have 2 of the cattle cars there that they shipped over, like the actual cattle cars. And she got in it and sat down and goes, this is where I was the entire ride. She got up, she walked over to the map of the concentration camp and pointed out where she slept. And then she walked around pointing out family members' names on the walls. and made people physically ill because she was as matter of fact as you could be. It is, Paul. Yeah, it was. But yeah, no, she showed everybody exactly where she stood in the cattle cars for the days. Pointed out her bunk bed in Auschwitz and her bunk bed in Stutthof, and it is an inspirational place to visit, but it's a lot.
Yeah, that whole area is a whole lot.
It's a lot. I will say, I went through it when I was younger, like through school. We went on a DC trip, and I've been to several of them, and I'd heard my grandmother speak many, many times. But to watch her tell her story on video with um, the details, it's rough to listen to. It kind of made me sick. But oh, Cynthia, don't cry. You to have met my grandmother, and you'll see when she talks, if you watch the video, she very rarely shows any emotion. At one point, she gets a little bit choked up, but like I'd be sobbing. Oh yeah, the shoes. But we ran into. I've told the story a ton of times. When I was young. I was like probably 14 or 15, high school age. She and I were walking, and a neo-Nazi wannabe walked up to her and spit on her on the street and was calling her names because he could see her shirt had ridden up and you could see her tattoo a little bit. And I wanted to fight the dude.
And she's like, "Nah, fam, we're not doing that."
Well, I was going to fist fight him. I didn't care.
I'm sure you were.
You don't spit on my grandmother. You don't call her slurs for Jewish people that are no. And I went to go square up, and he said she stopped me. Like she literally just like stuck her arm in front of me, and she spit on the ground in front of him, and she said, You are not a Nazi. You are a sheep. Had you been there and had you met the real Nazis, they would have led you to your slaughter like a sheep. You are nothing. And walked away.
Yep.
And I was like, damn. And when people interviewed her, they would say, do you hate the Nazis?
No. Why bother?
And her answer was, I don't hate anybody. It does nothing. Hate only destroys the vessel it is contained within. It has no effect on the other person. So it's not going to live rent-free in my head. I'm like, got a point there. One of the worst things when a survivor said they lived because they worked with the dead. They take care of the dead bodies, take what they had that they could use. Yes, that is true, Paul. And my grandfather, my mother's father, died when my mom was a freshman in college of lung cancer because it was his job to take the bodies out of the gas chambers, rinse them off, and then go load them into a crematorium. And he ended up with lung cancer from all the exposure. He died from that. My grandmother said that, it had been 75 years. And, not long before she passed, she said to me, I haven't slept in 75 years. I relive that every night. I'm like, damn. She was the strongest person ever, Paul. She never... It wasn't even like something to say I'm sorry. Like, my grandmother never felt bad for herself. Her answer was, it could have been worse. I could have not made it through with my sisters. I could have been separated. I could have not made it, she always, always, it could have been worse. I lived through hell, but it could have been worse because I lived. And I had to give her that. It's kind of how, like, when I had to admit, I was having liver and kidney failure issues. It could be worse. I could be in a country where I don't have medical care. And, she always said, every day is a gift. You have to, you truly have, and not to be cliche, like, you really have to know. She had to live through the Holocaust and then the Tree of Life shooting. She always said to me, I didn't think someone would try to exterminate me once for my religion, let alone twice. Yep, they don't say why me. What's next? It could be worse. I mean, she, it was insane. Yeah, that's where I want to go back to March of the Living. I did it once. When she was still alive. The only problem is, like, March of the Living. I want to say it's like $4,000 to do now, but I may go. But yeah, I mean, what bothers me more about all of this, and like this will bother like Paul and Patrick and all of you guys, and Croc and Boom, you guys are me. There's a school district in Florida that will not teach about the Holocaust because they said they can't prove it's not true.
Wait, they can't what?
They can't prove that it's true or not true.
Yes, they can't prove it's true, so they will not teach about the Holocaust.
It literally happened. It's documented.
In fact, it
happened one lifetime ago.
Just Google Florida Superintendent Holocaust Denier. There's entire articles about why they're not teaching about it.
See, now here's his problem. Aside from being a military grade coward,
Florida man.
The Holocaust is one of the best documented events ever. I mean, there are almost no questions about who was there, who lived, who died.
Here's the thing: the school board upheld it, and they still don't teach about it, and fucking pisses me off. Like, everyone's big mad about people telling someone's teaching kids about gay people, but goddamn.
Well, it's not even a question of that. There's been a lot of that controversy. Is more like trying to convince these kids that they're trans, which is the thing.
But regardless of that, like, there's less like how I just can't. Yes, the Germans did have complete records. Like I said, I have a picture of the concentration camp logbook with my grandmother's name on it.
Isn't it illegal in Germany to deny the Holocaust?
Yes, it is illegal in
actually
Germany. Yes, it is illegal to deny it or to speak ill of it. And the German government paid my grandmother reparations. Paul, if you want, Paul, it's a really hard thing to do and go to. But if you want to go, if it's something I will, we can try to get a group of people to do it. March of the Living as a group. It is incredibly hard to do. It is a lot, but it's important. Yeah, GMK, it is anti-Semitism. I know there's nothing to get. My issue is an entire fucking school district doesn't teach kids about the Holocaust because they can't prove it. Is their answer.
What do you mean they can't prove it? It's like proven.
Go read the thing. I don't know.
There were still people alive that went through that.
Yes, my grandmother up until last year. She didn't tattoo that number on her arm by herself.
No, she did not.
It's insanity, but off topic. But yeah, and that's part of the reason the Israel thing bothers me. Half my family came to the U.S., the other half went to Israel. Yeah, you can only argue with people on Facebook and on the internet so much. They're pretty dumb. And, I will say this, and Croc will understand what I'm saying. It's fairly hard to offend me or really make me mad. But if you're gonna go ahead and compare the Holocaust to the movie The Purge, you should probably be prepared for me to want to clean your clock.
That's if she doesn't decide to settle for ripping out your lungs, because that's a possibility too.
Yeah, that's been my new favorite recently. Let's compare the Holocaust to the movie The Purge, but whatever. Tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to stream tomorrow. Tomorrow will depend, but I will probably stream something tomorrow night. Yeah, GMK they are. You know what, Paul? So there's the private school that I went to growing up. The history teacher spent probably 20 years doing it. He collected the tabs from cans of Coke and stuff, and encased them in glass block, and there's 6 million of them.
Oof.
Outside
That's
the private
a lot.
It's outside the private school I went to. My grandmother was there when they dedicated it. And when you look at all like the little metal tabs, to think each one of those is a person, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't get it. But no. Tomorrow night we're gonna do a gun stream. Tuesday night, game night in the lair. Not sure about Wednesday. I did look. They have not yet given a date for the Crumley trial. And
it probably won't be too much longer.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul, I will. I'll watch it. And then more gun stuff. And if Murda gets his retrial, I'll probably do some of it. The Murda.
Yeah.
That was the other trial I wanted to know about. Wait. There's another trial. It's supposed to be starting soon. Oh, the Dan, what's his name? The guy in Florida who was assassinated by his ex's family, someone in a driveway. Dan Markle. The Dan Markle trial is starting. Do we want to stream the Dan Markle trial?
I think that might. When is it starting?
Real soon.
Real soon? Well,
yeah.
I think we should probably do that.
Okay, I'll look into it. I'll put it up on the community tab, and we will figure it out. YNW Millie, I'm not gonna cover his retrial for the hung jury. There's enough people doing it. I can only listen to that idiot so many times.
Which idiot would this be?
YNW Millie.
Oh.
So, but thank y'all for joining me tonight. We've talked about all of the hard things tonight. Why not? We're gonna have fun the rest of the week. We'll do gun law tomorrow, and gun stories tomorrow, and then on Tuesday we'll have game night. Decide what games you want. Paul or anybody who wants to watch the video, go ahead and email me. Everyone knows where my email is. And we're all going to say, good night. We love you. Everyone be safe. Be careful. Hug your families. Love y'all.